Hi, hello, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing my 2022 most anticipated releases. Okay, it is January, but there's still time. I'm doing the first half of 2022 because last year I tried to do it quarterly and I failed by the end of the year. So this year I'm doing 2 anticipated releases videos, one for the first half of 2022 and one for the second half that will be coming out sometime in July or August. Cross your fingers, hopefully. So I have many books to talk about in this video. There will be timestamps down below for the months in case you want to skip around or anything, or like want to know what's coming out next month or this past month, or you're watching this in the future. I don't know. Anyway, timestamps down below. Let's get started. Not quite yet. Please fill out my channel survey. It's in the description box down below. I've been saying it in all my videos this month because I'm closing it at the end of the month. I appreciate any answers I get to hopefully move my channel in a direction that people enjoy. So yes, please take my channel survey. All the questions are optional. Please do it. Please. Thank you. Now let's get into my first half of 2022 anticipated releases. The first book we have is Ashes of Gold. This is the sequel to Wings of Ebony, which I read last year. It came out last year. This is a duology, so it's also the last book in the series. This series follows Rue, who finds out that she's basically half god after her mother is murdered on her front door step, and her father ends up taking her away to where he's from, and she has to figure out how to get back to her sister after she learns that the neighborhood she's from in Texas is having some major issues. Required reading for the Disenfranchised Freshman by Kirsten R. Lee. The blurb says that fans of Dear White People will embrace the activist-centered contemporary novel about a college freshman grappling with the challenges of attending an elite university with a disturbing racist history that may not be as distant as it seems. I did like Dear White People except for the last season. If you've watched the last season of Dear White People, please commiserate in the comments with me. But this book follows a girl named Savannah who had her sights set on an HBCU until she gets into a Ivy League adjacent university that's made up for this book called Wooddale University. So she decides to go there because she got in on a full ride. However, she gets disappointed when she gets there, when she realizes that the perfectly manicured community is far from how it seemed in its brochures, and Savannah is dealing with microaggressions on the daily. And then Clive Wilmington's statue is vandalized with blackface. I don't know who that is. It does not seem to be a real person, so I guess it's just a fictional person made from this story, but the important part is vandalized with blackface. The number 1 suspect is Wooddale's most popular student and son to a prominent family, so Savannah decides to take matters into her own hands and starts to do some digging. But what's the price for standing up for what is right, and will telling the truth about Wooddale's past cost Savannah her own future? So intrigued by that. Mostly the Dear White People comparison got me, so we'll see about it. Next, we're on to books that come out in February. You Truly Assumed by Layla Sabrine. This follows Sabria, whose plans for her summer go out the window when a terrorist attack happens, and the terrorist is assumed to be Muslim. Islamophobic sentiment grows around her, so Sabria turns to her online journal for comfort, and it turns out that a lot of Muslim teens end up flocking to her blog for a sense of community. And so Sabria ends up with 2 other girls to help her run the blog, and they all become friends, and I think it follows them as they're dealing with everything that goes on after that. I'm trying to include more not YA into these videos, so yeah, this is a little different from books I usually talk about, but I was intrigued by it. I saw someone else talking about it. I don't know how it ended up on this list. But anyway, it's called The Lonely Hunter: Why the Search for Love is Broken. This is a nonfiction book where the author was inspired to write it when she was at a dinner party and the conversation turned to her love life, and she not quite announced, but she said she wasn't sure if she was going to date again, and everyone rushed to comfort her and be like, love comes when you least expect it, and recommend dating apps to her. So the author, Lutkin, wondered why, when there are more unmarried adults than ever before, is there so much pressure to couple up, and why is everyone so uncomfortable around single people? Why does it seem like your real life can't start until you meet the one, and is it possible to be single without being lonely? So this follows the author going on a quest to have these questions answered, and it just sounds really intriguing to me. Next, we're back to YA with Bitter by Kweke Emezi. This is a sequel to their other book, Pet. This is actually a prequel, I should say, because it follows the main character of Pet's mother, and it kind of follows how the city of Lucille that it's set in got to the way it got to be in Pet. Next, we have some March books: The Rumor Game by Danielle Clayton and Sona Charapotra. I have been waiting many years for this book to come out. It's been just on my shelf, saying no year for years. And finally, it's coming out in March. I'm excited. If you don't already know, Danielle Clayton and Sonachara Potra co-wrote the Tiny Pretty Things duology. I was about to say Pretty Little Liars. They did not do that. And I really enjoyed that duology. The TV show was on Netflix for one season. Unfortunately, it was canceled. It was a mess, but I enjoy mess. So I'm disappointed that was canceled. But anyway, they wrote this new book together, and I'm excited to read it. Let's tell you what it's about. At Foxen Prep, a posh private school for the children of DC's elite, a single rumor has the power to ruin a life. Nobody knows that better than Bryn. She used to have it all, the perfect boyfriend, a bright future in politics, and even popularity, thanks to her best friend, cheer captain Cora. Then one mistake sparked a scandal that burned it all to the ground. Now it's the start of a new school year, and the spotlight has shifted. It's geeky Georgie, newly hot after a summer makeover, whose name is on everyone's lip. When a rumor ignites, Georgie rockets up the social hierarchy of the school, pitting her and Cora against each other. It grants her Foxen stardom, but it also makes her a target. As the rumors grow and morph, blazing like wildfire through the school's social media, all three girls' lives begin to unravel, but one person close to the drama has the power to stop it. The question is, do they even want to? Turning by Joy L. Smith. I cannot resist this book about ballet. This follows a girl named Jeannie who was a star pupil at her exclusive New York dance school, until there was an accident, I assume, and she ends up in a wheelchair. Now that the future she spent years building is snatched away, she doesn't know what to do, and she can't stand to be reminded of it, even if it means isolating herself from her best friends and her mother. Then she meets Kyle, who also used to be, and Kyle was a gymnast, but had a traumatic brain injury that sent him to the same physical therapist that Jeannie sees. And with Kyle's support and Jeannie's best friend's insistence that her time at the bar isn't over, Jeannie starts to see a new path for herself. But healing also means coming to terms with how she has to confront things that she hasn't been confronting, like the alcohol that her alcoholic mother's been hiding, the ex-boyfriend who was there the night of the fall, and Jeannie's most terrifying secret, the fact that the accident may not have been so accidental. So that all sounds very interesting to me. I once again am a sucker for a book about dance, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Gallant by V.E. Schwab. If you haven't heard of this book, you've definitely heard of this author by now. This is her newest YA release. It follows Olivia Pryor, who has grown up in Maryland's school for girls, and all she's had growing up are her mom's journal entries, which seem to unravel into madness. Then a letter appears inviting Olivia to come home to Gallant. But when Olivia gets there, nobody is expecting her. But Olivia's not about to leave the first place that feels like home, even if she does have a hostile cousin and she sees half-formed ghouls haunting the hallways. Olivia knows that Gallant is hiding secrets, and she is determined to uncover them. When she crosses a ruined wall at just the right moment, Olivia finds herself in a place that seems like Gallant but is not. The manor is crumbling, the ghouls are solid, and the mysterious figure rules over all. Now Olivia sees what has unraveled her family for generations, and where her father may have come from. Olivia has always wanted to belong somewhere, but will she take her place as a prior protecting our world from the master of the house, or will she take her place beside him? Dun 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 dun! That sounds intriguing to me. I think this is a standalone, which is the most intriguing part of this to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it for mainly that reason, and also because I like to be in on the Victoria Schwab hype, okay? Sue me. April. Nothing Burns as Bright as You by Ashley Woodfolk. I will read you the synopsis on Goodreads because it's pretty short, but it is described as an impassioned story about queer love, loss, and the complexity of female friendship that will keep your heart racing and breaking until the very last page. So I appreciate that. Two girls, one wild and reckless, years of a tumultuous history unspooling like thin fraying string in the hours after they set a fire. They were best friends until they became more. Their affections grew until the blurry lines became dangerous. Over the course of a single day, the depth of their past, the confusion of their present, and the unpredictability of their future is revealed, and the girls will learn that hearts like flames aren't so easily tamed. It starts with a fire. How will it end? I think Ashley Woodfolk is really good at writing friendships. I read a lot of her books now, I guess, because I read almost the whole Fly Girl series, and I read her previous book, which the title I forgot of, and I really like that. That was about a friendship breakup, and this seems like it's going to be like a queer friendship breakup. Like they were best friends, and then they became romantically inclined, and they're not sure where to go from here, maybe something like that. Fevered Star by Rebecca Rowanhorse. This is the second book in the Between Earth and Sky series. The first book is Black Sun, which I read in 2020, the end of 2020. and I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as everyone else, but I definitely want to read the sequel. The way that ends, you can't not read the sequel, honestly. And so I'm excited to read it. This is a fantasy series set in a fantasy world that is inspired by pre-Columbian Americas. There's a whole lot going on. The first book, we have, I want to say 5 perspectives, and there's gods and things and priestesses and maybe mermaids, and it's too much to explain right now. The Memory Librarian and Other Stories from Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. Okay, first of all, this book doesn't have a cover, so I'm not completely convinced it's coming out, because also, if you heard the author's name, that it is that Janelle Monáe, this famous singer. So I'm excited because I never expected Janelle Monáe to write a book, and so I'm excited to read it. This is a sci-fi anthology based on stories inspired by her album/visual album thing that she did called Dirty Computer. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I am down for it. I want to read it. I would like an ARC right now, actually. Please let me know. But yeah, I'm not 100% convinced it's coming out this year because it doesn't even have a cover yet, and it comes out in April. Actually, I lied. I looked closer at Goodreads, and for some reason, Goodreads' first edition it showed me didn't have a cover, but there is a cover. It's right next to me. It's probably been right next to me as I've been complaining about it not having a cover. Kai by Vaishnavi Patel. Forgive me if the angle is different. I don't remember my orientation. I knocked over the tripod. Also, my tripod's broken, in case anyone was wondering. I need a new one. Yay. But anyway, back to this book. I also want to say that I did look up the pronunciation for both the name of the book and the name of the author. I'm sorry if I still managed to butcher it though. This follows a titular character who is the only daughter of the kingdom of Kekaya, and she is raised on tales of the might and benevolence of the gods, how they churn the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure their land prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the devout and wise. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother and watches her own worth be reduced to how great of a marriage alliance she can secure. And when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to answer. So desperate for some measure of independence, she turns to the text she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. And with this magic, she manages to transform herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen, determined to carve a better world for herself and the women around her. But as the evil from her childhood stories threatens the cosmic order, the path she has forged clashes with the destiny the gods have chosen for her family. And so she must decide if resistance is worth the destruction it will wreak and what legacy she intends to leave behind. So that sounds interesting to me. Love, girl power. Literally girl power. The blurb also compares it to Madeline Miller's Circe, which I haven't read yet, but that also does intrigue me, so I figured I'd add it to this list, at least. Book of Night by Holly Black. Holly Black doesn't need me to advertise this book, but maybe you didn't know Holly Black is writing an adult novel, which does intrigue me. I have not been interested by any of her YA, but I don't know, I feel like she might be good at adult. I don't know, we'll see. This is described as a modern dark fantasy of shadow thieves and night societies in the vein of Ninth House and the Night Circus. I have read the Night Circus and enjoyed it, haven't read Ninth House yet. And the world this is set in is a world where shadows can be altered for both appearance and also for mind gain. I don't know how to describe that, but basically you can use someone else's shadow to manipulate them in some way, but if you do that, it can take hours from your life. This follows our main character, who is a low-level con artist and working as a bartender while distancing herself from the powerful and dangerous underground of shadow trading. But when a terrible figure from her past returns, her life is thrown into chaos, and her future seems at best unclear and at worst non-existent. So Charlie throws herself into a maelstrom of secrets and murder, setting her against a cast of doppelgangers, mercurial billionaires, shadow thieves, and her own sister, all desperate to control the magic of the shadows. The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. Honestly, the title is what got me. We follow a girl who, after being outed at her previous school, ends up starting at this Catholic school where nobody knows that she's a lesbian, and she's also one of the only non-white people at her school. However, things might not go to plan when the only openly queer girl at her new school is hard to resist. But our main character does not want to make the same mistake again and come out at this new school, so she starts asking herself, WWSGD, what would a straight girl do? This is supposed to be funny and vulnerable, and I don't know, it sounds like a good time. Once again, the title got me. Last but not least, Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen. This is the story of two Asian American women who band together to grow a counterfeit handbag scheme into a global enterprise. An incisive and glittering blend of fashion, crime, and friendship. And it also says it's for fans of Hustlers, I assume the movie, and How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, which I have not read or seen. But it sounds like a fun, good old time. We love crime here, so we'll see how it goes. And that's the end of this video. Finally, thank you so much. I should have made this disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but these are not the only books that I'm excited about. These are just books that I wanted to share. I tried to do a mix of like popular books by popular authors and maybe some lesser known books that I'm still excited about, but there are other books I'm excited about. I have that shelf on Goodreads. It's called On My Radar if you want to see other books that I'm intrigued by. And yes, in the comments down below, let me know what is one of your most anticipated releases for this year, 2022. Also, give me a gold star emoji in the comments down below as well if you made it to the end of the video, want to comment but don't have anything to say. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you haven't done that already. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!